When I was 4, my parents abandoned me. I grew up alone, learning to survive. But last year they came back, not to apologize, not to make amends, but to sue me. They wanted $2.7 million that my grandfather left me in his will. Before you hear how this nightmare unfolded, hit like and subscribe. You will not believe what happens next. My name is Olivia, and I have always been independent. Being abandoned at 4 teaches you things no school ever will. How to fend for yourself, how to hide fear, how to trust very few people. For 25 years, I built a life from scratch. I worked hard, saved, and kept my grandfather's estate untouched. It was mine legally and morally. Then the summons arrived. I stared at the envelope in disbelief. My parents' names were on it. My chest tightened. My hands shook. I opened it. They were suing me for $2.7 million, claiming they had a right to inherit it, arguing that since they raised me after I turned 18, they deserved compensation for lost opportunities. I read the papers again and again. I could not believe what I was seeing. I felt anger, fear, and disbelief all at once. These were the people who left me alone in a tiny apartment, who never called, who never cared. And now they were claiming my grandfather's money. I thought about my childhood, the nights I cried myself to sleep, the cold floors, the strangers who took me in when no one else would. And now, they were daring to call me greedy. I wanted to respond immediately, to scream at them, to tear their names off the papers. But I knew that reacting without a plan would ruin everything. For days, I sat in my small apartment, reading the legal documents, trying to understand their claims. They had hired top lawyers, and the case looked complicated. But I had one thing they did not expect. I had knowledge. I had proof. And I had patience. I began digging into my parents' history. Old bank statements, tax records, social media accounts. I found patterns of negligence, lies, and even fraud. They had used my grandfather's name before, claiming loans, trying to siphon money for themselves. I could feel my pulse race. The anger inside me boiled. I remembered being 4, being told they were gone for a while and never returning. The excuses, the broken promises, all of it. I contacted a lawyer I trusted, someone who understood family law and inheritance disputes. We went over every document, every email, every old will, every bank account. I was prepared to fight, but I also needed more. I needed a way to expose their history, to make them regret ever thinking they could take what was mine. Then came the first twist. I received an email from an anonymous source, a person who had known my grandfather personally. They sent me a copy of a handwritten codicil to his will, one that explicitly stated my parents were to receive nothing. It also mentioned a clause that would punish anyone trying to challenge the will unfairly. I read it over and over. My heart raced. This was the leverage I needed. But I could not act yet. If they suspected I had this, they would manipulate the courts, lie, cheat. I needed to wait for the right moment. I needed them to reveal themselves. For the next week, I played along. I returned calls politely, acted shocked at their claims, and even pretended to consider negotiating. All the while, I gathered every scrap of evidence. And then one night, I saw it. My parents had been careless. In an email to their lawyer, they boasted about manipulating my childhood, teaching me independence the hard way, and how they were sure we can get at least half of that money now. I froze, my stomach turned. The audacity, the cruelty, my blood boiled. But I stayed calm. This was exactly what I needed. Their arrogance would be their downfall. The following morning, I confronted them over the phone. "Mom, Dad," I said quietly. I saw the email. There was a pause. "Wait, what email?" My father stammered. "You know exactly which email," I said. "The one where you admitted leaving me at 4 and planned to get my grandfather's money. I have copies, multiple witnesses, and legal proof." Silence. Then Claire, my sister's voice in the background, a little shocked. "Olivia, maybe we should talk in person." I smiled, though they could not see me. "Yes, let us talk. I think you will want to hear what I have to say before this goes public." I knew I had them exactly where I wanted, but I could not reveal everything yet. Not until the court date. Not until I was ready. The night before the first hearing, I received a mysterious package at my door. Inside was a notebook, filled with my grandfather's private letters, detailing his disappointment in my parents and his intentions for me. Some letters mentioned personal matters, his concerns about their character. I realized then the case was not just about money. It was about exposing them for who they truly were. and I was ready. But just as I was about to read the final letter, I heard a knock at my door. I froze, my heart pounded. It was late. Who could it be? I peeked through the peephole. And there they were, my parents, standing together, smiling politely as if nothing had happened. I swallowed hard. I realized then, the game was about to begin. And I knew, whatever happened next, nothing would ever be the same. I took a deep breath, holding the notebook tightly. "Come in," I said softly, trying to sound calm. As the door opened, I knew one thing for certain. By morning, everything would change. And I was ready to fight. The door opened slowly, and my parents stepped inside, smiling like nothing was wrong. I held the notebook tightly in my hand, the weight of my grandfather's words grounding me. They had no idea what was coming. Before this gets intense, hit like and subscribe, because the truth about betrayal and justice is about to unfold. I motioned for them to sit. "I have been reading through some of your emails," I said calmly. "And also, my grandfather's letters." Their smiles faltered. Dad cleared his throat. "Olivia, maybe we should discuss this privately. We just want what is fair." I laughed quietly, a sound that made them tense. "Fair? Fair is leaving a 4-year-old alone and thinking you could claim millions that were never yours." Mom's hands shook. She tried to reach for my arm. I pulled back. "Do not touch me. I want you to listen carefully." I opened the notebook and began reading passages aloud. Letters from my grandfather, expressing his disappointment in their character, his reasons for leaving the estate to me, and warnings about what would happen if they tried to interfere. Their faces went from smug to pale. Dad stammered, "Olivia, we did not know." "You did," I said sharply. "You left me alone, you schemed. And you even boasted about manipulating me for money. I have copies of emails, screenshots, and witnesses who can confirm everything." Then came the mid-twist. I revealed the evidence of their hidden debts and prior attempts to manipulate other family members out of inheritance. I had discovered bank statements, tax fraud, and forged documents. Mom gasped. Dad's lips twitched nervously. "Olivia, please, we can negotiate. We can settle this outside court." I shook my head. "There is no negotiation. You tried to take what is mine by law and by love, and you failed. Now you will face the consequences." I called my lawyer. "Send copies to the court, freeze their accounts, and make sure everything is documented." By evening, the authorities had been notified, and their financial irregularities were exposed. The lawyers on their side panicked when I submitted my grandfather's codicil and the letters proving my inheritance. Claire, my sister, tried one last manipulation. "Olivia, we are family. You cannot do this." I smiled coldly. "Family is not defined by blood when it comes with betrayal, and you will learn that every lie has a price." The final twist came when the judge reviewed the evidence. My parents' case was dismissed. Not only that, the judge imposed penalties for fraudulent claims and attempts to manipulate the estate. I watched as their faces crumbled in court. For years, they thought they could intimidate me. For years, they underestimated me. After the court ruling, I returned home. I held my grandfather's notebook, feeling a strange mix of sorrow and relief. The people who abandoned me were exposed, and justice was finally served. Grandfather's intentions were honored. My inheritance remained intact. But more than money, I had gained something else, closure. The most powerful truth hit me then. Blood does not guarantee loyalty. Love does not excuse betrayal. But courage, knowledge, and patience can protect you, even from those who claim to love you. I never spoke to them again. They tried to contact me, but I had no interest. The wound of abandonment cannot be fully healed, but survival, justice, and self-respect create strength no one can take away. I placed the notebook on my shelf, the letters a reminder of what I had endured and overcome. I had faced betrayal, deception, and the people I once trusted most. And I had won, not with anger, not with revenge for its own sake, but with truth, patience, and strategy. I realized something that day. Survival is not about hurting those who hurt you. It is about protecting yourself, standing firm, and honoring the life you fought to build. Some people will disappoint you, even your own family. But that does not define your worth or your future. If this story shocked you and gave you chills, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. Could you survive betrayal like this and come out stronger?